If you're thinking about moving to the Portland metropolitan area and you haven't heard about West Linn, it's one of the most desirable places to live in all of Oregon. I'm gonna give you a full vlog tour. All that starts now. Hey everyone, Seth Marchant with the Home Team Brokers here, coming to you from West Linn, Oregon today. If you're new to this channel, living in Oregon, we show you what it's like to live in Oregon, especially for people that are thinking about moving to Oregon or moving somewhere within Oregon. We get people reaching out to us all the time that want to move, and if you're one of those people, you can give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, or click the link below to schedule a Zoom with us. All right, so let's talk about West Linn. I am in historic Willamette, which is the downtown part of West Linn. Not every town in the Portland metropolitan area has a downtown, so that's kind of nice to have a place where there's food and shops. There's events that take place here, such as the farmers market. You've got Willamette Park, which is just down the street from here on the Willamette River. The Willamette River sort of separates Portland from the east side to the west side, so we are here on the west side, about 20-25 minutes from downtown Portland. There's about 25,000 people that live here. There's two ways actually to get to Portland from West Linn, which kind of makes it unique. You can get to Portland by I-205 or Highway 43. Most places throughout the Portland metropolitan area, there's really only kind of usually one main way to get to like downtown Portland. So for that reason, there's maybe a little less congestion here. The city's website says that West Linn is the city of hills, trees, and rivers. Now there's trees everywhere, green trees. It's pretty much green all throughout Portland. But the rivers, aside from the Willamette River, we also have the Tualatin River as well. And then of course we have quite a few hills here in West Linn. Now that isn't a totally unique description. There's probably a handful of places throughout West Linn that would fit that description, but it is particularly nice here. West Linn's also known for its top-rated schools. There's one high school here, which is West Linn High. There's a brand new school that's actually being built right now, just down the road from here, called Athey Creek. A little inside joke for people that live here. West Linn is known for a gangster and coyotes. Now you can Google the West Linn gangster. That's it's the first thing that'll come up. It's kind of a funny thing. I'll let you just look that up. And then the coyotes thing, it's funny, if you're a part of any of the groups for West Linn, like on Facebook or Nextdoor, coyotes are probably one of the #1 things that people talk about. And that's because there actually is quite a few coyotes around here, and that kind of catches people off guard that aren't from around here, I think, to see the wildlife, but especially the predators. And those coyotes, you'll see them, you'll hear them, and it's not too uncommon that they'll grab a small animal, a small dog or a small cat. So it is something that you have to be cognizant of here. And that's kind of one thing that sort of separates West Linn from some of the other surrounding towns. It is a little bit more rural feeling here. And if I could contrast it with one of my last vlogs, which was in Happy Valley, I mentioned that Happy Valley was sort of similar to West Linn. That's probably one big distinction between Happy Valley and West Linn, is that it is more rural here. You'll see a lot of undeveloped land. You'll drive by farms. You just won't quite see that probably anywhere else within a 20 or 30 minute radius of Portland. So it's got a little bit of a country feel to it, a little bit of a small town feel to it. It's not nearly as congested as Happy Valley. It's not really on the way to anything or in the middle of too many things, so there's just not too many people passing by. I don't know that people that necessarily live here necessarily feel like they're out in the country, but one anecdote, full disclosure, I live here, so prepare for bias. I might be a little bit biased, but one of my neighbors, when they first moved here, which they were coming from downtown Portland, so a little bit different than downtown Portland, I became friends with them on Facebook, and she had posted at some point right after moving here that she had moved to the country, which was kind of funny. Again, we're really close to downtown Portland, so but if you contrast it with a major metropolitan area, again, having kind of all that undeveloped land, and you'll see that throughout some later on in this video. I'll show you a bunch of drone footage so you really get a good feel of what it looks like here. It does kind of have a little bit of a country feel to it. So if you're looking for something a little bit more rural, a little bit more country, West Linn might be a good spot for you. And if I could be a little bit critical of West Linn, again, contrasting this with one of our more recent vlogs in Happy Valley, the shopping here, the restaurants, there's a little something to be desired there. We do have a lot of good restaurants, but there's not a ton of them, so you'll oftentimes find yourself going to the same place over and over again. So over a long enough period of time, you'll probably find yourself venturing out, whether it's for food or other types of shopping, to a Happy Valley, to an Oregon City, or to a Lake Oswego, or to a Tualatin. But again, that's kind of, consider that maybe a downside, but that's also an upside too. It's just not super congested here. There's not a ton of traffic here. What you're kind of seeing in the background too here, being right in downtown, I mean, that's kind of about the extent of the congestion that you'll see in West Linn. So a negative, shopping and the restaurant choices are not the best, but there's not a lot of people here that are congesting, that, you know, bringing congestion. So if you like something that has a little bit more of a small town feel to it, West Linn is really a great spot. All right, let me take you around the town. And on the note of food, a lot of towns in the Portland metropolitan area have recently developed spaces specifically for food carts, like you saw in Happy Valley. Don't have that here yet, but it actually is in the works, and that will be right here in Willamette, which is again downtown West Linn. Here's what they're working on. Not sure when they expect that to be completed, but if you're looking for food carts, I think a few more food choices are going to be welcome for the people that live here in West Linn. All right, so now we'll hop in the car and I will take you through the downtown, which was recently renovated. They've added a bike lane, new street lights, new trees, a handful of other things. There's a water station, new places for bikes. This road that we're on is Willamette Falls Drive. If you continue up along this road for maybe about 4 miles or so, that'll take you to Oregon City, in which you'll find Willamette Falls, which is the largest waterfall by volume in North America. Coming up to this intersection here, you got a popular restaurant for people in West Linn, Lil Cooperstown on the right. On the left, you have the Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue. You can also see some scooters there on the right. Those are brand new, maybe been there for a week or so. I believe there's a 1-year plan to see, I guess, if those scooters, if they work out, see if people like those scooters. I know various different places in Portland that people have tried those scooters. Some places they've worked, some places not so much. So you'll notice most of the cars here that are parked here are pulled in as well, rather than backed in. For a while, the city had a rule that required people to actually back in rather than pull in. I believe there's quite a few studies that show that it is safer to back into a parking spot, and specifically because when you leave, you can then drive out rather than having to back out into traffic, which is much more dangerous. But people did not like that very much, so they removed that rule. Let me know what you think, if you prefer to back in to your parking spot or pull into your parking spot. All right, so this intersection right here, if you go straight, that will take you to Oregon City. A few more miles and you'll get to Willamette Falls. To the left is one of the many hills of West Linn. The name of the road that goes up that hill is Salamo Road. You've got quite a few houses on that hill. You've got a little strip mall with a Safeway at the top. There's a school up there and a handful of parks up there as well. I'll take you all the way to the top of that hill. And another note, again, on the traffic and kind of congestion, what you're seeing right now is really kind of like rush hour for West Linn. This is really about the most traffic and probably about the most congestion that you'll experience throughout all of West Linn. All right, now, so heading up this hill, again, this is Salamo Road. You're going to find a lot of bigger homes on this hill, a lot of 4- and 5-bedroom homes. Most of them built maybe about 30 years ago, 20 years ago, throughout the 90s, maybe early 2000s. So not a ton of new homes. There's a handful of new homes being built right now. Given that there's so much undeveloped land, we'll probably expect to see quite a few new homes in the future. And we'll come up to one of those spots here, about maybe a mile up the road. There's one of the, really actually the last section of undeveloped land on Salamo Road is going to be coming up here on the left. One thing you might also kind of notice is some of these trees were planted here when these houses were built 20 or 30 years ago. And then you see some of those smaller like saplings, those like 4 or 5 year old trees. The reason for that is we lost about 1,600 trees throughout West Linn. A few years ago, we had a really, really bad ice storm. And from what I understand, from what some of the landscapers that I've talked to have explained to me, it was particularly bad here up on the hill here in West Linn. Maybe get a little bit more wind. And there's that new kind of subdivision on the left right there. But we've got a little bit more wind up here, maybe in West Linn. So the combination of the ice accumulating on the trees and the wind, we lost a ton of trees. So, and you can see right here in the median on the left right there, there's a lot of places where the trees still haven't been replaced. They've taken down the old trees but haven't replaced the new trees. So that's going to be a big project coming up in the next few years for West Linn, is to get rid of all of, I think they've mostly gotten rid of all the dead trees or the broken trees and replacing those with new trees. All right, so coming up here, now we're at the top of the hill. This strip mall on the right, this is where City Hall is. This is where Safeway is. This is one of kind of the few, like I mentioned, there's not a ton of shopping spots in West Linn, so this is one of the few spots. This has been here for quite a long time. I'm not sure actually when this was built. It's been here as long as I can remember, so at least 30 years or so. And then coming up on the left, you have Rosemont Middle School. And now I'll take you up into the air so you can kind of get a better vantage point for this area. All right, now there's that Safeway, and then right back behind Safeway, you've got Tanner Creek Park. You can kind of see some town homes there to the left. Tanner Creek Park is, I've heard it referred to as kind of the crown jewel of parks in West Linn. There's a ton of parks in West Linn, but Tanner Creek is maybe a little bit bigger. You've got that big open field right there. In the summertime, we do something called Movies in the Park. There's a big kind of blow up movie screen that everybody can come watch a movie. It's like once a week. You can see you got tennis courts, pickleball, basketball court down there, playground for the kids. And then panning back to the right here, we're going to look kind of back towards the way that we came, back down towards Salamo. If you look way back, you can see the Willamette River. That's where we just came from. That's where the downtown is, where historic Willamette is. Dead ahead, kind of across the street from Salamo, that is a Cascade Summit apartment complex. I actually lived there many years ago. And then looking kind of back down Salamo Road here, you can kind of see that newer subdivision where they're still building homes kind of to the right of Salamo right there. You can really find in West Linn just about any type of home. There are older homes here. There's some mid-century homes, which is kind of like that typical ranch 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, ranch-style home. So you've got anywhere from, frankly, you've got mansions in West Linn. You've got very large homes. You've got new homes, older homes, townhomes, apartments, condos. You have pretty much really everything in West Linn. The homes do tend to be larger here. I think the average home value as it stands right now, and it's changing so quickly, so by the time you watch this, who knows what it's going to be, but average home values in West Linn are on the high side, probably somewhere right now, somewhere in the low 800s. Portland metro area is going to be closer to like 550 or something like that. So a lot of people move here for the schools. So people will move here, the kids will go through the school system, and then they'll move back or maybe downsize from what they're in after the kids leave and go off to college or whatever it may be. So The turnover rate for homes here is pretty often. There are some parts of Portland where people just don't move a whole lot and homes don't come on the market very often. But in West Linn, you get a pretty steady stream of homes that are coming on the market due to people constantly moving into the. All right, so next I'm going to take you down onto the water. This is just below the historic downtown of Willamette, so maybe 10 blocks or so, and you can see that's actually the Tualatin River that runs below that bridge that you just saw that runs into the Willamette River. So that's where the trees, hills, and rivers plural, comes from. So on the bottom right-hand corner, you've got the boat ramp. This is an awesome park right here, Willamette Park. Really popular spot. As you can see, places for baseball, soccer, basketball. Can't really see it through the trees, but there's a couple covered areas down there, a playground, kind of a water splash pad for the kids. And this kind of takes you through the historic neighborhood of Willamette. These are older homes. There's some historic homes back here. It's really charming, really kind of quaint, really popular spot of West Linn. And I'll kind of take you back through an aerial view of the downtown. So real kind of quick here, we'll give you a better view of the downtown. And that was that hill just back up above that we just came from. So this again is Willamette Falls Drive. Just kind of give you a real quick view of what it looks like from the air. And facing a different direction here. And then kind of to the back, you'll see that hill kind of to the back there. That is Pete's Mountain. I'll take you back up on Pete's Mountain next. Bottom right-hand corner, by the way, too, that's the West Linn Police Department. Very thankful for the fine men and women of the West Linn Police Department here. All right, so next we're going to head, like I mentioned, up to Pete's Mountain. There's not a ton of homes up there. This is where a lot of the larger homes are, a lot of homes with acreage. All right, so now here we are at the top of Pete's Mountain. This is the Oregon Golf Club. That bottom left, that white building there, that's where they hold events, a lot of weddings there. That was actually one of our top considerations for our wedding. Didn't end up there, but a great spot for sure. Looking straight back, that is the Willamette River. That's where we were just at, where Willamette Park is. And then we'll kind of pan to the left, and that'll kind of give you more of a feel for what Pete's Mountain looks like. It's really rural. There's a handful of vineyards up here, Tumwater, Campbell Lane, and Pete's Mountain Vineyard. And for the most part, these are all very large homes, a lot of acreage, equestrian properties. So this is one of probably the more rural spots of West Linn. All right, so now we've seen Pete's Mountain, we've seen downtown, we've seen Salamo Hill. This is the other side of Salamo Hill, further up the Willamette River. This is one of the other two sections of West Linn. This is where Highway 43 runs through. Again, Highway 43 is one of the highways that will take you to Portland, also to Lake Oswego. This is kind of panning towards Highway 43, also panning towards Mary S. Young Park, which was maybe the biggest park in West Linn. It's definitely the most wooded, as you can see. All those trees right there is actually Mary S. Young Park. It's a really popular spot for dogs. It's an off-leash dog park. And let's zoom in a little bit closer there. So Mary S. Young Park is huge. This is the section where people are taking their dogs, and you can also actually get down to the river from here, which is really popular, to take the dogs down to the river and run around and play in the water. Now we're facing back towards the Willamette River, and that's actually on the other side of the river is Milwaukee. Looking back towards and panning back towards here is, you're going to see kind of that major road down here is Highway 43 that I mentioned just a moment ago. I'll give you a kind of closer look. We've got a little bit of shopping down here. You have a Zupan's, which is kind of like a specialty supermarket with a handful of other restaurants and shops. I'm going to take you now back up towards the high school. I'll give you a little bit better look at West Linn High School. They're doing a little bit of construction on it right now, adding some things to it. Now this high school was built in 1920, so just over 100 years old. So yeah, it's not a brand new school like Adrian C. Nelson in Happy Valley, but it has been well maintained. It is one of the top rated high schools in the state. It's actually one of the top rated high schools in the country. Home to a fair amount of pretty famous athletes, I would say, I guess. Actually, right now, Peyton Pritchard, who plays for the Boston Celtics, currently playing in the NBA Finals and doing really well. Also home to Chael Sonnen, if you haven't figured out who that gangster is yet. So really great high school. This is the school that attracts. Now, kind of looking back to the right, we are on the other side of Salamo Hill. So that those trees, that road that you see that car driving down to the left, that will take you to the other side of Salamo Road. And then looking back to the right, back towards the Willamette River, back towards Mary S. Young Park, where we just were. And then down below, you can see Highway 43, which is what takes you through Lake Oswego to Portland, probably 5 or 6 minutes from Lake Oswego right here. Next, we will kind of cover the last part of West Linn, which is where Rosemont Road goes through. So this is back on the other side of Salamo Road, pretty close to Safeway, just a few minutes leaving Safeway, headed towards Lake Oswego. In fact, if you see that hill kind of in the upper left back there, that is Lake Oswego. That's kind of, and actually to the right of that hill, that's actually Lake Ridge High School. There's two high schools in Lake Oswego, Lake Ridge and Lake Oswego High School. Just below is Luscher Farm. It's a very popular spot for people to visit. You can kind of see there's a handful of trails all throughout this area, walking trails that you can actually take all the way from Lake Oswego all the way through West Linn. Pretty long walk, but really nice walk. And this is really right on the border right here. There's another dog park down here that's popular. They've got actually two dog parks down here, one for big dogs and small dogs, so that's always nice. Then you've got Hazelia, a football field down here, common place for people to come practice sports. There's a little playground. And this kind of gives you what I was saying earlier about that kind of like rural feel to the area, you know, having a few farms, having all this kind of open, undeveloped land. And let me take you real quick towards the end, almost finished here. I'm going to face back the other way so you can kind of see what it looks like going back the other way. So now we're just turned around facing back the way that we came. If you keep going down this road, which is Rosemont Road, that will take you to the intersection where we were at earlier, where you find that Safeway. So again, a lot of undeveloped land, really rural, but there's still quite a few homes here. Again, there's 25,000 people here, so it's not a small area. It's just really kind of spread out. And that road that you kind of see down there in the bottom right hand, that is Rosemont Road. That's one of the bigger roads in the area. Again, you just don't see a ton of traffic, so it's just not super congested. And again, this is 20-25 minutes from Portland, so you're not too far away. Below, right there on the right side of Rosemont Road, is Oswego Hills Vineyard. Great spot just to really go hang out. You can kind of see that little green field that they have right there. Oftentimes, and then there's a covered area. You can just go hang out, put a blanket down, have a little picnic. It's really kind of no obligation, you know, to buy any certain amount of wine. It's not limited to members. It's open to the public. So that's kind of a nice little hangout spot for people in the summertime. And then we'll kind of pan back over to the left. You can see to the left of the road too, there's a paved path right there. That path goes for miles and miles. That's one of the paths that will take you all the way through West Linn, all the way to Lake Oswego. So you will find that throughout West Linn, sort of similar to Happy Valley. A lot of walking paths that go all throughout these neighborhoods and take you all throughout West Linn. So if you're a big walker, jogger, if you're somebody that likes rural areas, West Linn is probably a pretty good spot for you. If you have questions about this area, moving to the area, what it's like to live in the area, anything else about the area, you can feel free to give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, click the link below if you're out of town and you want to schedule a Zoom with us. That's usually the best place to start and kind of do a little meet and greet. Give us a thumbs up if this video helped you. Make sure and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And feel free to comment below. Let us know if you like the video. Thanks, everyone. Take care.